Are you ready for the greatest bowl game known to man? The PopTarts Bowl is back, baby. One of the greatest non-college football playoff games there is right now. For a chance to bake a Pop-Tart, eat the thing. This is a massive matchup. BYU, one of the best defenses in the Big 12, taking on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets and Haynes King in their final game of the 2025 season for both teams. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lucas Hill here of the Southern Sports Scene. Thank you guys once again for hopping on in. If you like this type of content and if you like watching these videos, make sure you all do us a favor and hit the like, share, and subscribe button so that you are notified every time we go live and post a new video or post a new short here on the Southern Sports Scene. We are going to be in for a very wild bowl season, but stay with us throughout the rest of the year as we give you the latest updates and previews on every single bowl game every single day. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off with the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Haynes King, what a year. What a career that he has had. And what a way to end it off with Georgia Tech. The former Texas A&M and Georgia Tech player will end off his career as one of the greatest quarterbacks to come through Bobby Dodd Stadium, and boy, has it been a heck of a career for him, ending it off against the BYU Cougars. Look, a lot to play for, and BYU trying to get to a 12-win season, Georgia Tech trying to get to their first 10-win season in quite some time. Cougars left out of the college football playoff despite losing twice to the number 4 team in the nation, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This is a very motivated BYU team that is going to be playing this week. The only thing that is not going to happen is LJ Martin is not expected to play. That is the only thing that will be not happening. Obviously, with surgery coming up very soon, and obviously it's going to be an interesting next couple of decisions for him. Had a 1,300-yard season. LJ Martin, does he enter the NFL draft, or does he return to college football? Does he return to BYU? Those are questions that he's going to have to answer as he enters in for his final year of eligibility. Other than that, man, there's not a lot of guys that are opting out of this bowl game, surprisingly. Now, the only big change that Georgia Tech is going to have is Buster Faulkner. He's gone after this year. Buster Faulkner is now the offensive coordinator over at Florida. Chris Weinke has stepped into the primary play caller for the bowl game. Look, doesn't matter. Matt Mitchell is going over to Colorado State. And look, I mean, that's the only two things that should matter in this bowl game is that you have coaches that are opting out. Nothing really major happening. LJ Martin, how much of an impact will that make with the loss of him? How will that impact BYU's offense? That's going to be the question. Bear Bachmeier, what a heck of a freshman year that he had. And a guy that I thought fought through some adversity throughout the year. It didn't look good to start off the year. He didn't look good at times throughout the year. But in games where it mattered most, he was able to deliver. 2,700 yards, 14 6, touchdown to interception ratio. Also ran for over 500 yards to go along with 11 touchdowns on the ground. Thought he did a really good job controlling the game. But the last 2 games, he's had 18 carries for -2 yards. So he struggled running the football some. You've got to be able to run the football against this Georgia Tech defense that had struggled late at the end of the year, but did a pretty decent job against Georgia. And I thought for the most part, they were able to shut down that Georgia offense that really kind of shocked a lot of college football whenever they ran buckshot over Alabama and just really took over that football game. Gunnar Stockton, I thought, had a very efficient game. Thought he looked really good in that football game against Alabama, and they wore them down. Georgia Tech at times, that has been their bread and butter, is wearing teams down with the time of possession. They're going to have to do that against this BYU defense that is very aggressive in all 3 aspects of the game. Stopping the run, creating turnovers, and being dominant in the secondary, being physical up front. That's what they've done all year long, and that's what I expect them to do this Saturday. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get the best out of BYU. Kalani Sitake's team has done a really good job this year. And we were going into the beginning of the year, really at the beginning of last year, and thinking to ourselves, is Kalani Sitake gone? Is Kalani Sitake going to take another head coaching job? Obviously, that was not the case. His heart remains loyal to BYU. And I think that's amazing for Kalani Sitake to have that. So, both teams are motivated. Both have a lot to play for, a lot of bragging rights to end this year. It's a battle of old versus new. And I really, really like that because I think you're getting 2 teams that are going to fight their asses off throughout the entirety of that football game. Excuse me. Georgia Tech, top 13 in total offense, 466 yards a game, 23rd in points per game. Cougars defense, top 50 overall on the season. This would be the Cougars' 4th season with 12 or more wins. This would be their first since 2001. They've won 11 games for consecutive years for the first time since 2020 and 21. Once again, no big opt-outs, man. So this game is going to mean a lot to both teams going into this football game. I think BYU is going to be bragging rights to prove to themselves, hey man, we belong in the Big 12. We belong as a serious contender in college football. And I think that that's really good, man. I think that that's really impressive that you're continuing to see things like that and you're continuing to see performances like this. Haynes King, here was a guy that started his career at Texas A&M, like we already mentioned. 15 rushing touchdowns, led the league in all that. 4th in the league in rushing, 922 rushing yards. 2,600 yards through the air. Thought he did well, much better this year and improved as a quarterback. That doesn't mean he's going to be a first-round draft pick at quarterback. That, by all means, is out of the question. He's probably late day 3, maybe an undrafted free agent because he's 24 years old. He'll be 25 later on this year going into his freshman year. So he's not going to be around very long in the NFL. But I do expect him to play a big role in this football game. How does BYU shut down the run? And they've been one of the best rushing defenses in college football. We've seen them shut down elite-level rush defenses or elite-level rushing offenses like what Utah had, like what Iowa State had. Texas Tech, I know, had a pretty decent running game. Cincinnati, obviously, with what Brennan Sorsby had done throughout the year, held him in check during the football game. Going to have to do a lot, man. And they're going to have to force some turnovers because that is a very physical Georgia Tech team. But they can also put the football on the ground. And what led to their demise against Georgia? They put the football on the ground that they couldn't get themselves back in position to recover from. Georgia took advantage of those opportunities and they turned them into little points. They weren't huge, but they were enough to pull away with a victory. So this is a good matchup. BYU right now is a 3.5-point favorite. I think the youth and the experience that BYU roster has, and despite how old they are, they've been able to play more complementary football compared to Georgia Tech. I think offensively, if they can force turnovers early in the football game, they're going to have a run-up on Georgia Tech. It's happened before. And they can finish football games compared to other teams that has played Georgia Tech. Boston College couldn't finish after getting up big or late in the football game. Tech, when you talk about teams like Duke early in the season, Wake Forest on the road, and you look at other games like North Carolina State and Pitt, which popped off. That was a Georgia Tech defense that at one point in 3 games gave up over 500 yards a game. If BYU can get off to a hot start, it's going to be a long day for that Georgia Tech defense. Give me BYU to win this one. Tough way for Haynes King to go out, but all I can say is you fumbled the bag when it came to a defensive coordinator hire. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Does Haynes King get his last win as a collegiate player, or is the future looking bright with a bowl win for the BYU Cougars with Bear Bachmeier at the helm? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Also, make sure to leave a like, hit the share button, and hit the subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, post a new short, or post a new video here on the Southern Sports Scene. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay blessed and don't stress. Y'all have a great rest of the week. We will see you soon.